Hello, everyone. Since I was unable to get to the cost topic during the last residency, I've decided to make these series of videos to go over the concepts. Now, the amount of information is rather extensive, so I'm going to be splitting this PowerPoint into about 2 to 3 videos. So this is going to be the first of several videos on costs. So, how does this particular topic fit into the structure of the class that we have established thus far? Well, let's look at the pyramid. Remember the bottom of the pyramid? What is economics? And then we went into supply and demand, and then we talked about law of supply, law of demand, and then we went into elasticity, which is built upon simple relationships like the law of supply, law of demand. And what the elasticity showed us here is how pricing decisions impact revenue. Now, that's an important concept to know if your goal is maximum sustainable profit, because profit is simply total revenue minus total cost. And what elasticity tells you is how your pricing decisions impact your profit. And by the way, this uh, symbol pi is the symbol they use in economics for profit. So now we go on to costs. Now the question or the issue at hand that relates this topic to the goal is we're going to examine how output choices, your decision to produce, affect costs. And of course, since um, total profit is total revenue minus total cost, any decision that you make impacting your costs impacts profit. So that's why it's an important concept to know. So if we're going to deal with costs in business, we have to be familiar with this simple profit equation, total revenue minus total cost. And again, I pointed out in the previous slide, any choice that you make that impacts any one of these two components affects this. So it doesn't take much emphasis to convey that this is a very important concept regarding profit. Now, cost identification and cost control are kind of two of the most important, most difficult parts of business because sometimes it's very difficult to identify the costs, much less control them. And we're going to see how important it is to control costs from a profit perspective because costs increase. They do not increase at a constant rate. So, in other words, as you start to produce more, there isn't this very predictable increase in costs. They increase at uh, different rates given different rates of output. So the most significant issue we'll be dealing with here is how costs change when you change the rate of output. And the bottom line is changes in cost affect profits. So in order for us to talk about costs, we're going to be separating costs into two parts, long run cost and short run costs. Well, short run is a situation where something is fixed, meaning you do not have enough time to change all variables. If you were in business and you wanted to double output within a week, well, chances are you couldn't open up a new factory within a week. So, plant and equipment will remain fixed during that time frame. Well, if something is fixed, that means we're in the short run because in the long run, all things are variable. You can change anything. So if you needed to double output within a year, you have enough time now to build a new factory. So if everything is variable, you're in the long run. So that's how you distinguish between the long run and short run. We're going to be dealing basically with short run costs, which tells you that there are some costs that are not going to change with output. They will remain fixed. So if you have fixed costs, by definition, it's a short run scenario. So in the short run, we've got fixed costs that do not change with output. And of course, we have variable costs. These are costs that do change with output. Now, a classic example of a fixed cost would be, rent. If you produce 0 units, your rent is the same for a factory. If you produce maximum capacity, your rent is the same. So rent does not vary with output. Now, there are some costs that do. Labor costs. If you want to produce more units, you may have to hire more workers. So these costs do change or do vary with output. If we added them both together, we get total cost. So this is your total cost of production right here. Now, marginal cost is the change in total cost when you produce one more unit. So marginal cost is a before and after. You look at your total cost before you produce something, then you look at your total cost after, and the difference is marginal cost. So this is kind of marginal cost is a before and after, uh, and it focuses only on the last unit produced. What did that last unit contribute to costs? Now, as we said, fixed costs, they don't change with output, and machine rentals, interest on loans, property taxes, these are examples of fixed costs, insurance payments. Now, variable costs, they do change with output. Here's some labor, energy, materials. We need more of these as we produce more, so the costs change. And you take your fixed costs, you add it to your variable costs, and you get total cost. That's the simple total cost equation. Or what if we break it down like this? We are going to, I'm sorry, we are going to look at K as the amount of capital. Let's say K will represent, let's say, machines. And R is how much it costs us to rent those machines. So if you take the rental rate, multiply by the number of machines, that's your total fixed cost. Here, labor is the number of workers. If you take the number of workers and multiply by their wage rate, you get total variable cost. Add them both together, you get total cost. So these two are the same. Now, marginal cost, like I said before, it's simply the change in total cost when you produce one more unit. And some people mix up variable cost and marginal cost because they sound the same. Variable cost tells you how total cost how change as you change output, and marginal cost is the change in output when you produce one more unit. So what's the difference between marginal cost and variable cost? Well, basically, variable cost is simply the running total of marginal cost. If you add up all of your marginal costs, meaning you look at the additional cost for each unit that you produce, if you add them all up, it's variable cost. So variable cost is simply the running total of marginal cost. So we're going to get into graphing, and I'm going to split this up to the next video. So the next video, we're going to get into graphing. So I will talk to you in the next video.